occupant of the carriage was an old separate-minded dog, but where I moved, I mistrusted. The man was asleep, and on the cushions beside him was that morning's Scotsman.
Good God!
We were reporting the station at which I got out yesterday. Pedro Dickens says the matter had been gingered up into some activity. The west going train was waiting to let us pass. From it descended 3 men who were asking him questions. All back in the saddle, I watched them carefully. As the party looked out past the moor where the white boat departed, I hoped they were going to take up my tracks there. I supposed that they were the local police who had been stirred up by Scotland Yard, lead me afar this one-horse sighting. One of them had a book and took down notes. The old potato digger seemed to have turned peevish. The child who had collected my tea, we were talking boldly. As we moved away from the station, the old stepper began to stir.
Oh, quiet, you Where am I? Oh, where am I?
You're on a train, travelling east towards Dumfries, in Scotland.
Oh, that's what comes of being a teetotaler.
I said to my surprise that in him I should have met a blue ribbon stalwart.
Oh, aye, but I'm a strong teetotaler. Aye, I took the pledge last Martinmas and I haven't touched a drop of whiskey since then. Not even a Hogmanay, though I was sair tempted. Oh, that's what I get. I heat better than hellfire and twine looking different ways for the Sabbath.
What did it?
Here, a drink they call brandy. Now, being a teetotaler, I keep it off the whiskey, but I was nipping no day of this brandy, and I doubt I'll no be wheel for a fortnight.
Man had to get out of some statement by the line, and I thought that every carriage window was closed, and no human figure appeared in the landscape. I got quickly from the carriage. It would have been all right before that infernal dog.
Where am I? Oh, where am I? He's jumped. He's jumped to his death.
I could have not made a more public departure if I had left with the burglar and the brass band. Happily, the drunken shepherd provided that he and his dog, which were attached by a rope to his waist, suddenly cascaded out of the carriage.
Quickly, that man needs help. You, help him.
That blasted dog just bit me!
They had forgotten me. I looked back, but there was nothing in the landscape. For the first time I felt the terror of the hunted on me. It was not the police that I shot up, but the other folk who knew that I knew Scudder's secret and dare not let me live. I was certain they would pursue me with a keenness and vigilance unknown to the British law, and that once their grip were enclosed on me, I should find no mercy. The mood did not leave me until I reached the rim of the mountain and flung myself panting on a ridge high above the young waters of the river. I had eyes like a hawk, but I could see nothing moving in the whole countryside. Then I looked into the blue May sky, and there I saw that which set my pulse racing. I was certain, as if I had been told that there was an aeroplane looking for me, that it did not belong to the police. These heather hills were no sort of covers. If my enemies were in the sky, I must find a different kind of sanctuary. I kept onward. About 6 in the evening, I came out of the moorland. Peat smoke and savory roast floated from the house.
As when a griffin through the world. Good evening to you. It's a fine night for the road.
Is that place an inn?
At your service. I'm the landlord, sir. And I hope you will stay the night, for, to tell you the truth, I've had no company for a week.
I pulled myself on the parapet of the bridge and filled my pipe. I began to detect an ally.
You're young to be an innkeeper?
My father died a year ago. Left me the business. I live there with my grandmother. It's a slow job for a young man. And it wasn't my choice, the profession.
Which was?
He actually blushed.
I want to write books.
And what better chance could you ask? Man, I've often thought that an innkeeper would make the best storyteller in the world.
Oh, not now. Maybe in the old days when you had pilgrims and ballad makers and highwaymen and mail coaches on the road. But not now. Nothing comes here but motor cars full of fat women who stop for lunch and a fisherman or two in the spring and the shooting tenants in August. There's not much material to be got out of that. I want to see life, to travel the world and write things like Kipling and Conrad. But the most I've done yet is to get some verses printed in Chambers' Journal.
I looked at the inn standing golden in the sunset against the brown hills.
I've knocked a bit about the world, and I wouldn't despise such a hermitage. Do you think that adventure is only found in the tropics or among gentry in red shirts? Maybe you're rubbing shoulders with it at this moment.
That's what Kipling says. Brother romance, and all unseen bromance brought up the 9:15.
Yes. But here's a true tale for you then. And a month from now, you can make a novel out of it. You're looking for adventure? Well, you found it here. The devils are after me and the police are after them. It's a race that I mean to win.
By God! It's all pure Rider Haggard and Conan Doyle!
You believe me?
Of course I do! I believe everything out of the common. The only thing to distrust is the normal.
You were very young, but he was the man for my money.
I think they're off my track for the moment, but I must lie close for a couple of days. Can you take me in?
He caught my elbow in his eagerness and drew me towards the house. As I entered the inn porch, I heard from the far-off beat of an ensign. He gave me a room at the back of the house with a fine overlook over the plateau. I smoked in a chair till daylight, for I could not sleep. The next morning I wanted some time, so I invented a job for him. He had a motor bicycle, and I sent him off next morning for the daily people, which usually arrived at the post in the late afternoon. Learning to keep his eyes skinned and make notes of any strange figures, keeping a special sharp lookout for motors and aeroplanes. He sat down and wrote on his Scottish notebook. Glanced out of the window. Seemed to be two of them, men in a cotton and tweed cap. One was slim, the other was sleek. That was the most I could make of my reconnaissance. 10 minutes later, the innkeeper slipped into the room, eyes bright with excitement.
There's two chaps below looking for you. They're in the dining room having whiskies and sodas. They asked about you and said they'd hoped to meet you here. Oh, and they described you jolly well, down to your boots and shirt. I told them you'd been here last night and gone off on a motor bicycle this morning. And one of the chaps swore like a navvy.
I made him tell me what they looked like. One was a dark-eyed, thin fellow with glossy eyebrows. The other was always smiling and lisp in his talk. Neither was any kind of foreigner. On this my young friend was positive. I took a bit of paper and wrote words in German as if they were part of a letter.
Take this down and say it was found in my bedroom and ask them to return it to me if they overtake me.
Okay.
Blackstone, Scudder had gone on to this, but he could not act for a fortnight. I doubt if I can do any good now, especially as Carolina is uncertain about his brand. But amidst of tea or bias, I would do my best.
Your paper woke them up. The dark fellow went as white as death and cursed like blazes. And the fat one whistled and looked ugly. They paid for their drinks with half a sovereign and wouldn't wait for change.
Now, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Get on your bicycle and go off to Newton Stewart to the chief constable. Describe the two men and say you suspect them of having had something to do with the London murder. You can invent reasons. The two will come back, never fear. Not tonight, for they'll follow me 40 miles along the road, but first thing tomorrow morning. Tell the police to be here bright and early.
He set up like a docile child while I worked at Scudder's notes. I had a sudden inspiration. Scudder has said that U.S. camp was the key to Carolina business, and it occurred to me to try it on his cipher. It worked. The 5 letters of Julio gave me the position of the barrels. Taylor gave me the numerals for principal consonants. I scribbled the scheme on a bit of paper. In half an hour, I was reading with a whiter face and fingers that drummed on the table. That evening we dined together. Out of common decency, I had to let him pump me for information. I gave him a lot of stuff about lion hunts and the Martapel War, thinking all the while what team business there were compared to this I was now engaged in. When he went to bed again, I sat up. I had finished Scudder's book. The next morning, I witnessed from my room the arrival of 2 constables and a sergeant. They put their car in a close house under the incumbent circle and entered the house. 20 minutes later, saw from my window, a second car came across the 2 from the opposite direction. It didn't come up to the end, but still 200 yards off in the shelter of a patch of wood. I noticed that it occupant carefully reversed it before leaving it. The plan had been to lie hid in my bedroom and see what happened. I had a notion that if I could bring the police and my other dangerous pursuer together, something might work out of it to my advantage, but now I had a better idea. The wind seemed to bring me the sound of angry voices.
You may picture me driving that 40 HP car for all she was worth over the crisp moor roads on that shining May morning, glancing back at first over my shoulder and looking anxiously to the next turning, then driving with a vague eye just wide enough awake to keep on the highway, for I was thinking desperately of what I had found in Scudder's pocketbook. In spite of all the nonsense talked in Parliament, there was a real working alliance between France and Britain, and the 2 general staffs met every now and then and made plans for joint action in case of war. Well, in June, a very great swell was coming over from Paris, and he was going to get nothing less than a statement of the disposition of the British Home Fleet on mobilization. It was something uncommonly important. The bare bones of the tale were all that was in the book. These, and one queer phrase which occurred half a dozen times inside brackets. 39 steps was the phrase. And at its last time of use it ran, 39 steps, I counted them. High tide, 10:17 p.m. I could make nothing of that. It was no question of preventing a war. That was coming, as sure as Christmas. Had been arranged, said Scudder, ever since February 1912. Carolides was going to be the occasion. This war was going to come as a mighty surprise to Britain. Carolides' death would set the Balkans by the ears, and then Vienna would chip in with an ultimatum. Russia wouldn't like that, and there would be high words, but Berlin would play the peacemaker and pour oil on the waters, till suddenly she would find a good cause for a quarrel, pick it up, and in 5 hours let fly at us. That was the idea, and a pretty good one too. The 15th day of June was going to be a day of destiny, a bigger destiny than the killing of a Dago. It was so big that I didn't blame Scudder for keeping me out of the game and wanting to play a lone hand. That, I was pretty clear, was his intention. The whole story was in the notes, with gaps, you understand, which he would have filled up from his memory. He stuck down his authorities too, and had an odd trick of giving them all a numerical value and then striking a balance, which stood for the reliability of each stage in the yarn.
On the bare moon, I was at the airplane's mercy. My only chance was to get to the leafy cover of the valley. And there came a thick wood where I slackened my speed. Suddenly I heard the hooting of another car and raised by my horse, and I was almost upon a couple of gateposts who were approximately crossing on the highway. I clapped on my brakes, and my head was too red. I did the only thing possible for my sliding into the head on the right. A breath of hawthorn got me into the chest, lifting me up and held me, while a ton or two of expensive metal slipped below. Slowly, that thorn let me go. With scrambled to my feet, a hand took me by the arm. I found myself looking at a tall young man.
I say, bless me, I'm dreadfully sorry. Are you hurt? Really, I must apologise. Oh, bless my soul. Do tell me you're all right.
My blame, sir. It's lucky that I did not add homicide to my follies. Well, that's the end of my Scotch motor tour. Well, it might have been the end of my life.
He plucked out a watch and studied
You're
it.
the right sort of fellow. I can spare a quarter of an hour, and my house is 2 minutes off. I'll see you clothed and fed and snug in bed. Where's your kit, by the way? Is it in the burn along with the car?
It's in my pocket.
A toothbrush?
I'm a colonial and travel light.
A colonial? By gad, you're the very man I've been praying for. Are you by any blessed chance a free trader?
A free trader? I am.
Oh, good show!
He patted my soda and hurried me into his car. Presently, we drew up before a comfortable-looking shooting box, and he ushered me indoors. First, he flung half a dozen of his suits before me. For my own, he had been pretty well reduced to rags. I selected a loose blue serge which differed most conspicuously from my former garment and borrowed a linen collar. Then he held me to the dining room.
thank you.
You find me in a deuce of a mess, Mr. By the by, you haven't told me your name.
Twiston.
Twisden? Any relation to old Tommy Twisden of the 60th? No? Oh well. Well, you see, I'm the Liberal candidate for this part of the world, and I had a meeting on tonight at Brattleburn, and that's my chief town, in an infernal Tory stronghold. I'd got the colonial ex-premier fellow, Crumpleton, coming to speak for me tonight, and had the thing tremendously billed, and the whole place ground-baited. This afternoon, I had a wire from the ruffian saying he'd got influenza at Blackpool. And here I am, left to do the whole thing myself. I had meant to speak for 10 minutes, and now must go on for 40. And though I've been racking my brains for 3 hours to think of something, I simply cannot last the course. Now, you've got to be a good chap and help me. You're a free trader and can tell our people what a washout protection is in the colonies. All you fellows have the gift of the gab. I wish to heaven I had it. I'll be forever more in your debt.
I had very few notions about free trade, but I saw no other chance of getting what I wanted.
All right. I'm not much good as a speaker, but I'll tell them a bit about Australia.
Oh.
At my word, the care of the ages slipped from his shoulders. He lent me a big driving coat and never troubled to ask why I started on a motor tour without possessing an horse. I was ripped down the dusty road. The young man poured into my ears the simple fact that he was He knew about horses and jawed away at the Derby entries, and he was full of planning for improving his shooting. Sir Henry was orphaned at an early age and was brought up by his uncle, who is a member of the British cabinet. He had gone round the world after leaving Cambridge and then being short of a job. His uncle had about politics, but he had no preference in parties. He was liberal because his family has always been Whigs. His uncle pulled a few strings and put Henry and Tweedledale as a liberal candidate without any hopes of him winning over his conservative constituents. Altogether, a very clean, decent, coward young man.